Good morning, and thank you for joining us for another edition of Coffee with Tom and Joanne. I'm Joanne Toronto.
And I'm Tom Matthews. And today we are going to talk about what to expect at a home inspection. And we're going to talk about this from the buyer's perspective. So your home inspection is, you had an accepted offer on Thursday. Congratulations. And you've been able to book a home inspection for Saturday at 9 a.m. So Joanne, tell us, what should we expect?
So the first thing I would expect is that your agent is going to let you know to pack some water and snacks, because home inspections, just, depending on the size of the property, can be pretty lengthy. But what you can expect is you'll get some disclosures from your home inspector via email and settle up with payment options. And then you're going to expect to arrive on time on Saturday morning for your inspection. And hopefully, if your inspector is able to, they've gotten there before you and started the outside of the house, and can then guide you through the outside very smoothly. But Tom, what are some of the things that happen when they're outside the house? What are you looking at?
Yeah, so a home inspector is going to come around and they're going to do the outside of the home first. And what they want to be looking at is the trim boards and the clapboards and the windows and the sills, and walking around looking at the foundation walls to see if there are any cracks. One of the big things we talk about at home inspections is that between the bottom clapboard and the ground, you want to have ideally 6 inches of clearance. 18 inches would be perfect. 6 inches minimum, 18, because they want to make sure you're not getting insects in the house. They're going to walk around, on the outside of your home. There's a lot of things that can happen because of the elements here in New England that don't necessarily impact the inside immediately. So you have some time to take care of it, but you don't want them to linger, because once water starts getting behind the clapboards and in behind the Tyvek, then you're going to start having issues. So the home inspector is going to walk you around, and this is a great time for you, the buyer, to be asking questions.
Right.
Because the home inspector, they do this all day, every day. And you want to make sure that you learn about your property, about property maintenance. Now, the goal of the home inspection, as we've talked about in previous videos, but we'll talk about it again. The goal of the home inspection is to ensure that there are no immediate hidden defects that you would have to deal with on day one of ownership. Otherwise, you're just going to be finding your honey-do list. Things you're going to want to improve to make your house better. And no house is perfect. My house would get probably a C on a home inspection, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But Joanne, go ahead.
I think it's important to know that home inspection, it's not a pass or fail.
Right.
So it's not a pass or fail. A lot of people will say, well, would this house pass home inspection? It's not a pass or fail. It's an opportunity for you to learn more about the roof, the way the roof is constructed, chimneys, if there are any, and the condition of those chimneys. Learning more about the structure of the home is probably the most important part of the inspection, is learning the maintenance tips, and asking your home inspector, who is a professional at home maintenance, what do they recommend when they see this, that, or the other thing. But one thing that I think everybody needs to keep in mind during a home inspection is that a house is going to be symptomatic of its age. So a home that is 100 years old is going to have 100-year-old house issues. And a home that is 30 years old is going to have 30-year-old house issues. And then even a home that's brand new may have brand new house issues. So what you want to keep in mind is everything that you find on an inspection is compared to what is ideal. And what is ideal is not the same as what was ideal 50 years ago.
Right.
So you want to keep perspective on the home as you're going through it. But then you go on to the inside of the house. And Tom, where do you go inside?
So we go inside, we go to the kitchen, generally put all our stuff down and chat. And then home inspectors have 2 general processes that we've seen.
Yep.
Either they immediately go to the attic and work their way down, or they go to the basement and work their way up. I see a lot of inspectors that say, I want to start in the attic because water works its way down, and they just kind of work their way down. And some say, all your mechanicals are in the basement. So we work our way up. But to Joanne's point, I remember Joanne and I sold a house years ago. It was like a 1900s colonial. And the home inspector went in, and the oil-fired boiler was probably 35 years old. And a home inspector said, "Oh my gosh, this is horrible. You should not buy this property because of this oil-fired boiler because it's so old." Buyer walked away. Next home inspector said, "Hey, it's an older boiler. It's fully depreciated. It doesn't owe you anything. You might get another year. You might get another 10 years out of it. It's just going to be a budgetary item and an understanding that you're buying an older home." Buyer bought the house. We sold the house 10 years later, same boiler. So remember, as Joanne said, keep perspective when doing your home inspection. So Joanne, we're done with the basement. We're on the the general living area. What are they doing in the general living area?
The home inspector is going through the general living area. They are testing outlets to make sure that they are wired properly, opening and closing windows, looking at surfaces such as walls, ceilings, and floors for any settlement issues, and just generally looking at any, not necessarily cosmetic items, but generally any defects that may have come from the house moving or breathing over the years that it's been built. So the inside of the house, the living areas actually go by fairly quick because there's not really a lot to look at, but they do turn the water on, make sure there's hot water coming to each faucet. They check the plumbing to make sure that there are no leaks. And they'll test, the shower, they'll turn the shower on and test a diverter, working between the tub faucet and the shower head. And they're also running the heat or air conditioning during this time so that they can check to make sure that each area of the home is receiving heat and that the heating system is working properly. And there's just a lot of general looking around. If there is a fireplace, a home inspector will generally open up the damper in the fireplace and look up with a flashlight to give you an idea whether or not the fireplace is used a lot, if it needs a cleaning. But we always recommend a professional chimney inspection after closing, so that you start with a blank slate, you get a nice clean chimney, and then you can maintain your own records on its use and maintenance. So other items to take a look at is just general wear and tear to the house, but most of the mechanical items are going to be in the basement and or the attic.
Attic, right.
So these are great opportunities for you to take measurements, take notes on things you might want to change cosmetically, and understand the general health of the home.
Yeah, and that, and generally speaking, you then will get a full report 24 hours after the physical inspection. It's really important that you've been at the inspection because in Massachusetts, we are a litigious state. So the home inspection reports do read a little more harsh than what is explained to you at the house because everyone's scared of being sued. So you have to be there so you don't get scared of what you're buying. But then after you get your inspection report, assuming everything meets your expectations, you move forward with your transaction. There are cases where the home inspection does not meet your expectations, and perhaps we can discuss that on another call because we're running out of time today, but we will make sure to follow up on what happens if the home inspection does not meet your expectations. But we wanted today just to give you an overview of what to expect at a home inspection. So thank you for listening to Coffee with Tom and Joanne. I'm Tom Matthews.
And I'm Joanne Toronto. Cheers.